Shut my screen down.
Okay, my screen is black, but I have two people watching. I hope they can hear me. If you can hear me, speak to me. And we're getting technical challenges. We're trying to talk about Malcolm X, and then everything starts getting weird. We're not even trying to do anything that deep. So bear with me. I am, for everybody on the StreamYard, um, it's not giving a screen yet. But anyway, welcome everybody that is on here. Hello, EJ. Hello, Brother Twizzler. Brother Twizzler in Oakland. Brother Mark. Rodney, Mazel. Good. You guys can hear me. It's in the StreamYard. It went crazy when we talked about the CIA. So if you are in StreamYard and you can hear me, you can come over to the Angry Black Men's channel and watch there. Uh, we had a good turnout for the last one, and uh, people don't necessarily like that. I'm trying to figure out why this is not giving me. The camera is on, but it's not on. Let me see something. Reload site.
Yeah, we good now.
Wonderful. It's playing. So this is a jam.
So him and Kevin Samuels, the similarities, if you look at it, they held themselves to a standard and wanted other people to have a standard. And for Kevin, he died. You know, we know how he died. His health issues.
Oh, we think we know how he died.
Yeah. For Malcolm, we know that he was taken out by a bunch of co-conspirators all across the board. What's going on, Dr. Short? Me and you both had birthdays that I don't think a lot of people know in the last few weeks.
Yeah. Mine was on the 9th, and a lot of people, like Sister Star and others, were really wonderful. I got so many greetings, and I'm looking forward to 60. I got something to look forward to, live for.
When's your 60th, Dr. Short?
It will be next year.
Okay, mine's I just turned, by God's will, I just turned 50 on the 31st.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, and so everybody's saying there's a delayed echo. I'm going to repeat this. the good news to everybody listening, Chef C and all of us are working. We're working to get to Rumble. We're working to, and it's not. I have a Rumble channel, but um, I I'm going to work on putting that in better order or getting a new one. But yeah, I have no idea. And how you doing, brother Judah? Uh, just when you do these lives, if you talk about real stuff, I want people talking about real stuff on these platforms. If we would talk about booties, butts, relationships, everything would explode. Everything would explode. But the minute you talk about something that may help somebody, they work very, very, very hard. Um, Malcolm X and Kevin Samuels are in the same sentence. Anybody with the problem with it, it's a free country. In fact, anybody with the issue with us talking about Kevin Samuels and Malcolm X, this isn't going to be a show you're going to like. Malcolm X was okay. Well, the reason why, oh, that's different because I had someone in here saying you can't do whatever I want to do. Kevin Samuels represents, he's a culture warrior. Malcolm X was a cultural warrior, whether people recognize it or not. Malcolm X was fighting an intellectual culture war against the colonization of Black minds by white racist supremacy, as well as sellout, no good, traitor Black leadership. And he did a very good job, bar none. Kevin Samuels was attacking what the culture war that they engaged in. They started a culture war against Black people the same year that they killed Malcolm X in 1965 with COINTELPRO, was to attack the Black culture, in particular to break up the Black family, to masculinize the Black woman and effeminize the Black man, and to estrange the generations, to cut off the old from the young from the old, bring in drugs, bring in sexual confusion, bring in godlessness, a lack, an absence of character. If you take a look at a high school yearbook from any year from say 1945 to 19 say 80, and you contrast it with all the years since, the way that people dress, they look, the content within a yearbook, it's absolutely night and day. This whole culture has been flipped. Kevin Samuels, he's a revolutionary. If he's trying to overturn feminism, that's a revolution. If you don't see that, this isn't a real good channel for you. Kevin Samuels is a rebel against this matriarchy that's killing our community. A lot of Black folks in our community do not understand. They experience, but just because you experience doesn't mean you know what's going on. Malcolm X wasn't necessarily, oh, you're a simp. Let me let this guy go. You don't need my channel, Mike TV. Get a reputation somewhere else. And you grew up in a single parent household, I can tell. I'm sorry you didn't have a dad. I did. Bye. Okay.
Dr. Short.
Everybody, if you came up in a busted up family system, I feel sorry for you. I don't hate you, but nobody in their right mind going forward who are true patriarchs. Yeah, that person wants to get some attention. I hope enjoy the fat girl that's cheating on you or whatever. We're moving forward, right? We don't care. I don't have time for Black men that like the confusion. I don't have any respect for Black men who like this insanity that we have. Yep, you need attention. I'm sorry your brother got killed, but I'm doing a show. Now the cat want to act out.
So Dr. Short, a person would not be able to understand the similarities with fighting white supremacists have.
Yeah, well, no, I answered the
bunch
nigga's
of arms, like
question.
the octopus.
I answered the nigga's question. So then he went ad hominem. It may have been a black woman calling herself a man. Who cares? I don't care. I don't care about simps. I don't care about simps. We don't care. The weak black men that are holding up, the ones that are with Fannie Willis. Yep, it's time for the truth to come out. Feminists are, and again, and I like your name. You look like a GCP. Well, this ain't Gaza. See ya. Bye, stud. We don't care what you think. Patriarchy doesn't run after women. We're men. We're not a menstrual cycle. We're going to do what we have to do. And by the way, look at how the white woman came, the feminist white woman came up right behind the simp black dude. This is what Kevin Samuels was fighting. He was fighting against the destruction of the black family system. And if you don't have a family, like people talk about revolution, the very person talking about a revolution doesn't recognize the need for a family, or then you're sick. There are a lot of sick. In fact, this is where when I talk about the feminists, you notice what I always do, brother. I always blame who? Black men for enabling the pork chop feminism. Black women would never do the things that we don't approve of if black men had an A game.
And the brother fuckers. It's all the
same. So let me see. How can you love Jesus and not love the truth, Mark Smith? I'm looking at this one. Oh, wow. Look at all these. It's okay. We don't mind. Everybody that's odd, because we have so many followers now. I don't have to beg for following. At this point, we literally have thousands. Isn't that wonderful? We work very hard on these platforms to be able to reach who we want to. We do want our message to go far and wide. But, we don't have time to debate with people that hate us. We don't have time to debate with people who are black who don't get it. Our mission should be to leave behind those that don't get it. We don't have to. We don't have to beg. We don't have to plead. We don't have to even sell it. If you don't see that you need a father and a mother to raise a child properly, if you don't realize that families are foundational, without a foundation, you will have nothing. Anyone with any other message is an enemy. I don't care what they are. And I noticed there are a lot of black dudes. It's interesting. There are people who are able to more or less succeed with this garbage. Things work out for them in this slime, busted up landscape in our community. And they're comfortable with it. I equate them to catfish that can eat doo-doo.
Because it allows them to be comfortable. It doesn't allow them to step up and put their pants on correctly. It doesn't allow them to be men of dignity, honor, and respect. It allows them to still be irresponsible, not be able to see. I'll get right to it. Why did Malcolm leave the nation? Over pussy.
Right. Well, yes, he did. Yes, he did.
We can say what we want to say, but he left over. Now, if Malcolm had been a man of dishonor and not a true patriarch, he could have had a bunch of families floating across America.
Sure, he could have.
Malcolm believed in the message that he was teaching, and having a family and having a strong family structure. When he found out about his teacher's discretions and having all these families with underage girls, he had a problem with it.
He did have a problem with it, and a lot of people were doing things. See,
He wasn't stealing money.
If Malcolm had been a pimp at one point, and he quit being a pimp, how can he endorse anyone pimping or doing something that could be seen as close to pimping? Right? Is that fair? Is that fair for me to ask that? If I have quit pimping, and because I joined something that I believe in, and someone I believe in is doing the very thing that they taught me not to do, or that I left doing because I felt I had joined something that was on a higher spiritual and physical plane, then that's where this break came. And it was a fatal break because uh, let us be honest with ourselves. Um, as this brother wrote, EJ wrote down, he held them, he's making reference to his organization, accountable. And some people don't like accountability. That was in our last conversation with Sister Eve. A lot of people like power, they just don't like the accountability of power.
Mm-hmm.
That's the real.
And being called out about it. Like you said, the accountability about it. Dr. Short, I saw you do this. I'm not gonna say nothing. You don't say nothing when you see me do this as well. We're gonna keep our secrets in there. I'm gonna let you continue doing what you're doing that's not right, and vice versa.
And there's a quote that came in from a brother in Los Angeles, Claude Nobles, quoting Malcolm X. He said, "To have been a criminal is no disgrace. To remain a criminal is a disgrace." And the same thing for Kevin Samuels. At his own admission, he was a simp. I just had a situation where I told you I'm not even married, and it was simpish, right? I'm just saying personally, where I just gave someone so much leeway, and the person's no good, and they got all kinds of breaks I would never give to a man. For all the people that think I want people hard on women, not really. Very patient, overly patient with people. In fact, it's been a fault. I will be working harder to hold people accountable irrespective of their sex.
And Dr. Short, this is why the thing that's amazing about anybody that will be detracting from understanding the similarities is that Malcolm, for better or worse, is the standard when you talk about activism for your people. Man died with what, $26 in his pocket? He didn't own nothing. He wasn't trying to be a capitalist. He wasn't trying to make money. He literally woke up and went to sleep every day trying to build a nation, build and recruit members and preach and be the minister of Elijah Muhammad. So,
and back to Kevin Samuels. The thing is that a lot of people say they like Malcolm X, but Malcolm X was seeing a young woman when he died out of frustration with his wife, Betty. Am I correct? And I don't think that Malcolm rushed to be unfaithful to Betty Shabazz, but it's a conversation. A lot of people make it seem as if that was a perfect marriage. It was a very complicated marriage. It would be with death threats and all that. When you go out and you start speaking out, and as a Black person in America, this system is quite brutal.
Malcolm was married to that movement. Right, wrong, and different. That's what he believed in. And maybe Betty saw some things that he didn't see, but she was not with him, not making money for himself.
Yeah, but ultimately, had he done what she said, they would have had a house that they couldn't have bombed so easily. And look at someone, Board Gamer 212, which says Trump 2024, get out and vote, people. Board gamer. I know I'm voting, and I'm not voting for Biden, and I'm not voting for Kamala, and I'm not voting for Michelle Obama. And I know that Biden didn't win in 2020, and I didn't vote for Biden in 2020. Just so you know, board gamer, a lot of us didn't vote for Biden. A lot of people have been lied to about who we voted for. Speaking of Malcolm X being a patriarch and Kevin Samuels being a patriarch, whether you like Donald Trump or not, he's a patriarch. That's something I like about him. Say what you want, whether you like him or hate him, he's himself. So, that's as much I'm going to say about that. The allegation of Malcolm having a girlfriend, the book has been out for years and had a lot of stuff in it I didn't like, so I never bought a copy. But Manning Marable and their book on Malcolm X brought that out. It's no secret that Malcolm was seeing a younger woman the very last few months of his life. In fact, I think he was under enough stress. There's if I'm remembering the book properly, Malcolm even had a nightcap now and then, which I can understand with all the threats against his life. I'm not trying to take down Malcolm X. Malcolm X is a great man. Malcolm X went through stuff. I mean, they're trying to kill his family. They tried to kill him in Africa multiple times. I'm not going to look at one or two things that Malcolm X may have done that were not above board and cancel him. That's not the kind of conversation we're trying to have. We're trying to say
some people will try to romanticize with his legacy.
He was a great man, a brave man. He was a man that wanted to help his people. He did what he could do. I wish he had lived longer. He was a fine person. And Malcolm X, like Kevin Samuels, was a man, not perfect. They were fighting, going against literally a system and a machine. And the same way that people will write hate messages on this thing now, on Kevin Samuels, would do the same thing to Malcolm X back in the day. Martin Luther King was hated in his day. I want to, for now, there's this big Martin Luther King pimpathon that's been going on, say, the last 30, 40 plus years. But I remember when people were trying to remind people that Dr. King lived. Hey, Q, there's a film called From Montgomery to Memphis. Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
Okay. You know that my dad was part of a group of grassroots people that helped promote the film. A lot of people had never even seen a lot of stuff that Dr. King was doing. And I'm talking about university level people. Are you understanding me?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so a lot of, for Dr. Short, yesterday, I saw most of these liberal thinking people. Yesterday at the Malcolm X Betty Shabazz Center, they had Dr. Mark Lamont Hill as their host for Malcolm.
Mm-hmm. Well, see,
and I called you and I said I was displeased that they had him, and you said no, you shouldn't be displeased because this is what they'll do.
Because Mark Lamont Hill is legitimate to people on the left. Mark Lamont Hill has a following among people that are progressive, left of center, people that are for the Palestine freedom movement. I'm not stating where I stand on the Palestine freedom movement, and for all the people up here putting up stuff about, it's interesting. We're talking about Black folks, and people interject other things into the conversation. Like someone was writing, do you like this group of people or the other group of people? That shows you how a lot of people don't realize how warped they are. I wouldn't go into a conversation of people from a different group and then say, well, what do you think about this group or that group? It's not positive. Malcolm X was pro Muslim and would have been pro Arab nationalism, which means if Malcolm X were living today on a certain level, he and Mark Lamont Hill would agree on some things. Mark Lamont Hill supports the Palestinian liberation movement. Malcolm X, as a person who is an Orthodox Muslim that supported Arab nationalism, as demonstrated by Gamal Abdel Nasser and others, that Malcolm X would have had some things in common with Mark Lamont Hill. I didn't say everything, some things.
But Mark Lamont Hill is the same one a few years ago, and I remember this, that actually tried to critique Malcolm's sexual preference.
He's not the first. There's a guy, I think his name is Richard Perry, and also other people have tried to make Malcolm X gay. This has been going on for a while. Now, here's the issue. Even that, if it were true, I'm not going to talk about it. And if it's true, I don't care. And let me clarify. Malcolm X wasn't gay. If Malcolm X did something that wasn't kosher, Malcolm X always told people I was the darkest, deepest deviant before I became a Muslim. He basically took claim to anything bad without stating all of it. So maybe something happened that was so unsavory in Malcolm's life, but that was before he made that change in his life. People have the right to reform. There are a lot of people I know who have.
Didn't we talk about that earlier? How some people can't let go when a person changed their life?
Well, no, I'm thinking that Malcolm X let it go, and he left behind a legacy that has value. So, I mean, if someone did something, it's interesting how people can work with Bayard Rustin, who was an active predator till he died. And yet they're looking, sifting pillowcases and sheets and mattresses, hoping to find at some point.
Gotta find something on him.
Malcolm boinked some guy. Malcolm touched him. He had to, right? They need everything black and male has to be homosexualized, and this is a crusade of white racist and also bigoted ethnic whites. Because, and I'm going to just say this to anybody listening, you can't go around and out people who are, let's say, Orthodox Jews and talk about someone being LGBTQ. It would never be tolerated. And yet you have liberal people, many times Jewish, who are turning over every stone to look for it in our community. It's absolutely obscene and absurd. It's racist. And if people wonder why, for all the people with the Israel flags on my feed, this is why a whole lot of people are taking a good look at the Palestinian thing based on experiences they have in America. I didn't say I'm picking sides. I'm simply saying there are a lot of people who think because they've encountered some historic injustice, welcome to the club, that no one can say anything about any of what they do. I mean, nope. So someone says ultra-Orthodox folks launder drug money. Ultra-Orthodox rabbis have harvested organs. Not bigoted, we can pull up the news articles about it. It didn't say everybody, but those that got arrested. And that was in New Jersey, where you're from.
Welfare fraud.
And other things. I'm not saying that's the only folk. I'm not saying it's all of any folk. I'm simply saying that a lot of times you got neoconservatives and other people who point their fingers at other people and use the news media and other places where people have power and strength to implicate other people and yet do the same things. And if anyone mentions that they did it, they're haters. But if you mention, hey, you did the same thing, You hate me, but when you accuse me all the time, I'm told I'm self-conscious.
Bad people is only for a specific race or a specific gender.
Mm-hmm.
Bad people are bad people. Good people are good people, no matter what religion you follow.
Yeah,
no matter you're male
yeah. And someone asked, "Does the news lie?" Of course, the news lies, but we also have to ask, who runs the news? It's not value neutral. It's not value neutral. That if we start talking about aggravated assault or homicide or certain, we can even do this, Marcia, by crime. Some people, certain ethnic groups do certain crimes due to access, and other ethnic groups do certain kinds of crimes because of access. These days, the people bringing fentanyl in the country are overwhelmingly Latino. The fentanyl may be used by all kinds of people, but the people that are bringing it in, whose gangs are dominant, are Latino. Who's dying from the fentanyl disproportionately are white. Although blacks are catching up because whatever white people do, blacks are going to copy. Who does what? Loan sharking? Certain people do it based on the group. There's certain stuff that Asians do. Cigarette smuggling, for example. It's a big thing. You're not going to see many blacks do it, but a lot of Asians do it. Again, organ harvesting. The main people I've run across busted in chains for it, Jewish. I didn't say all. I just said the high profile cases, it falls heavily in that group. Maybe that's a group that has a lot of doctors, a lot of hospitals, a lot of connections wherein monkey business could happen. All of that to say, everybody, according to, I like it, the New Testament, all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Well, you're saying they're a fringe group, yeah, but the Hasidic group, fringe or not, Hasidics are Jewish. Black criminals are a fringe element in our group. However, when the mainstream media, which is, and I worked in mainstream media, Miss Weingarten, at least half of my colleagues were Jewish. Avi Weingarten, before I give you time out, if you have
hard to discourage the conversation.
If you haven't had a DNA test like I have, where I'm 4% Hebrew, and you're a Khazar, you're not a Hebrew. So Jacob isn't in your line. He's in mine. He's not in yours. Let me give you time out because this is going to get weird. You're going to get mad because the truth hurts. Okay? Let me help you. Okay. He can enjoy talking to fellow Hasidim. He can talk to other fellow Jews who are Khazarian, who are more German or Polish than they are Hebrew. Okay, do you know a lot of them don't take the DNA tests because when they do, they find out there's no connection to the people that were in ancient Israel. I'm not saying they're not Jewish. I'm saying that they don't have the Hebrew lineage, the Hebrew DNA. They don't. Okay, I'm someone that has it. And so it's kind of funny for that person to lecture me about pride and Jacob and all that. That's not fair. Let me see. Okay, is this another person? Malcolm, we agree. Malcolm, we never said Malcolm was anything. I agree with you. Reggie, everything I agree with you. We like Malcolm X. We believe in reform, and we do not believe that anybody's permanently one thing or the other. I'm a Christian. I believe God can change anything. And I've seen people, my mother's a professional counselor, so I've seen people make decisions. So keep it moving. Let me just go ahead and go back to you, brother. So we're talking about Kevin Samuels, and he's he was a great man. I mean, just Malcolm was great in his time. Kevin Samuels faced something very different.
I'm gonna ask you, Dr. Short. I used to, like a lot of people that always had tried to criticize him, and I never criticized Kevin while he was alive, ever. I would watch his shows every now and then. I'd catch him when I go to work, and I never thought that he would say anything wrong. And I would always see these clips where people would always say, "Oh, he shouldn't have talked to her like that." But the guests, the women that he would be counseling, they never had a problem with him. And most of his followers were women that supported his channel.
I'm going to go in a different direction. One of the things that, at least what was modeled in the commercial presentation of the Nation of Islam to people, was that the Nation of Islam provided an order of man and woman and family that was absent in a lot of troubled Black communities and what I'll call sub-family units. I'm not saying that you didn't have this in other groups. I'm just saying the Nation of Islam, as it was presented and marketed to people, was that the Nation of Islam, in it, you had a father and a mother, you had an order, you had families, you had marriage, you had something to work with. That is at least the public relations presentation of the Nation of Islam, was that you had feminine women, you had masculine men, you had orderly families. Okay? That's how the Nation of Islam presented itself. Okay?
Yes, true structure.
And so, yeah, and I'm not saying that that's how it was. I'm saying the image of order and decorum in the Nation of Islam is what a lot of people could see. When Malcolm was around, he was literally pushing the very same thing as Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels is basically a Christian doing things similar to that of what the nation's doing. And I disagree with anybody that is Kevin Samuels. I agree with this person here, was trying to bring Black men and women together. Feminism has torn us apart. The LGBTQ movement and other things, baby killing, all this stuff, the economy has worked to attack the family unit, the sexual revolution, all of this, the drugs, all of this has hit our community like a shotgun blast of neutron bomblets. And Kevin Samuels was trying to make sense out of it. And what Kevin Samuels was saying to the women, if you just can't like any of the Black men, you won't, then let that man go to another community and form a family where a woman will work with the man to create a family. He was also saying to women to get off of their high horse. Everybody needs to understand he was not saying abandon Black women and marry everybody but Black women. He's saying to the Black women, if you can't, you're not going to be reasonable. You're not going to be realistic as a broker when you enter into a dialogue with the Black man about a relationship, then he has the right to walk away from the table to get a counteroffer. Okay, the woman is saying she has a counter offer. She's saying if you make $50,000 a year, I can't talk to you. I want a man that's making 120. Why is it so good for the woman to say what she demands, but yet the man has no right to demand? He has no right to expect virginity. I mean, it's disgusting if you sit on Facebook and look at people who are rationalizing body counts. I mean,
it's a standard. It's a standard.
it's a standard for a woman to be with 20, 30. That's why there's so many venereal diseases. If you look at the top cities in this country where there are high rates of venereal disease, God, this hurts. It has a huge Black population. What's going on, people? I don't want that, and I don't hate nobody, and I'm not trying to stop anybody. Oh, look, my camera's finally on. Oh my God, they finally let me on. But I said something bad about Black people, and then all of a sudden my camera comes on. Y'all see this? You can't make this stuff up, to quote Kevin Samuels. The minute I say something critical of Black people, my camera comes on. Now, if I were hammering, talking about something racial, whatever, my camera would have stayed off. And I say that there's a lot of STDs, the Black community. Poof, the camera comes on. We've been at this close to an hour. Oh, God help me. Y'all think I make this stuff up. Y'all think I'm paranoid. I'm really not. I'm really not. I sleep with a clear heart and clear mind. I don't get up here and say, ooh. And I've got lots and lots and lots and lots of videos. You can listen to all of them. Try to find a video where I'm saying to people, hate whites, hate this. Hate injustice, hate immorality, hate corruption, hate injustice, hate all kinds of stuff. But hating people won't get you anywhere. Hate what they do, hate what they stand for, hate what they hang around. But just hating people will destroy you from within. I would say this: these diseases. There's a thing called uh, diseases of distress, which are decimating white men in their 40s, 50s, 60s. And I think part of what's killing some of these white men is they're angry that they hate everybody. They're mad at it. They've been told, Black people are taking, Black folks have 1% of the wealth in the country. And we're taking everyone's job. Everything is what's big. When you make people hate all that destroys people from within. All this drinking and suicide, when you hate people, it'll kill you.
Short,
Speaking of hatred,
the Dr. Short, someone said you are Nellie Fuller 2.0.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like Neely Fuller. The few times we've talked, it's a very, very kind man. This guy, the thing also I want to say that Malcolm X wanted to do, which was to create a situation, and Kevin Samuels as well, where Black men and Black women respected each other. I want to say to you, the celebration that the sisters showed towards Kevin Samuels' death, I felt like I just had a heart attack. I just had open heart surgery, and I was just recovering from. He died in May of 22. I was just coming out of the hospital for heart surgery when those women danced and celebrated Kevin Samuels being you down. But the people, I'm going to go off on Iran for 1 second. The people in Iran were the first ones to give any real respect to Malcolm X, put him on stamps and such. So, shout out to Iran. I and I'm gonna get all kinds of hate from Jewish people that are listening. I'm not taking sides in that, but you know, nobody has the right to kill people, scientists, and bomb and sabotage. It, terrorism is wrong anywhere it's done. If one does terrorism in Iran, it's wrong. If terrorism happens in Israel, it's wrong. But at the same time, if anybody oppresses anybody else, you have to expect people who want to be free, who have been given the impulse to be free by God that made all of us, they'll fight back. In fact, that brings us to Kevin Samuels and Malcolm X. A lot of people don't understand that Kevin Samuels was in a simp relationship and got hurt, dogged by a wife that was with that no good Take Dick's Jake's church. I think Kevin Samuels, what his divorce did to him was a lot of what prison did for Malcolm X. It was a university about things that transformed how this man looked at life, right? And Malcolm X was able to take all the difficulties of his family being destroyed, his father being assassinated, other relatives in his family were murdered. There are a lot of people in Malcolm's family that were murdered, lynched, whatever. Transformed that as once he got through the things that were in his way as a younger man to make a major contribution. But he was ultimately destroyed by a coalition of people that were against Malcolm X. Someone that I considered a friend was spying on Malcolm X, to show you how it hurts. This stuff hurts. The truth hurts. The truth hurts Black folk. A person I looked up to, James Farmer, allegedly did a little bit of spying on Malcolm X. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I fought to get this man an honorary degree from Howard, and he's spying on. Yeah, I was saying that y'all have no idea how many traitors we have in our community. How many people get bought or get played.
In the words of our sister Vicky Dillon, talk black to him.
You get set up a lot. And Kevin Samuels, I believe, was betrayed. The women that celebrated Kevin Samuels dying, a lot of people need to understand that the women that celebrated Kevin Samuels dying are like the people in the Nation of Islam that celebrated Malcolm X dying. One of the people that I consider a mentor, his father was the artist that made the pictures of Malcolm X's head being cut off, to show you how small this world is. The son of the man that made all the cartoons calling for Malcolm to get killed. You know the name Majid. I know you've heard of him. Majid's son helped me get into Harvard. They said, this is scary.
And for the record, just, and Dr. Short known this because me and him have conversated about it. For people on my platform, people on his platform, I knew William Bradley very well. Man, they said that was the shooter. I knew William Bradley, who was known as the boogeyman for years until the articles came out of who he was. So allegedly the shooter. I didn't know him as William Bradley. I knew him as Mustafa. But I knew him very well. I knew his wife very well.
Again, to the brother from Iran, what is that word? I was going to say it in Arabic, which is mahaba. Oh, Huda Hufez. Huda Hafez his Sadiq. So I hope you're well. And by the way, I told people I'm of Jewish descent, right? I mean, I said that.
Dr. Short showing off his Farsi right now.
No, just a little. Farsi is very pretty. And so, and I was thinking about it today. It's funny, someone from Iran, because the thing that Iranians, the way they refer to the United States, Malcolm X would talk about America being evil. And the Iranians, when they're angry, call the United States Satan Bizork, which is great Satan.
So Door of Hell, you said that it's not alleged he was the shooter. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna say to you that I'm from that area. Mm-hmm. I knew him very well. And if you asked him about it, he would never talk about it. Yeah. Anybody that says he's ever admitted to it, he never admitted to anything. And actually, when people would say stuff to that man, he would literally cry.
I want to say to the United Kingdom, a person with the Jughead 1, he says, "Greetings from the UK, brother Dr. Short. I believe that Kevin Samuels was assassinated by that white woman he was with last. I believe Khalid Muhammad's wife was responsible for his death also." I will say to Jughead, sir, one of the people that watched him die, I used to live in the same building. This world is very small. It's scary. I know there's something wrong with the wife. There's something wrong. Kevin Samuels, I believe, was set up. There are a lot of people that wanted him dead. What Kevin Samuels was doing for Black men and women was giving them a sense of dignity and self-respect in a way that had not been done by our traitor Black leadership here. We have a lot of filthy, no good people, pastors, they're all scum. They don't speak to the issues. You know, I studied to be a minister. I have all the degrees and everything necessary to be a Christian minister. And I'll tell everyone, one of the reasons I didn't get ordained was I refused to do same-sex marriages. I worked as a volunteer with people who had AIDS. So I didn't say, oh, die from AIDS, you sodomite. Nope, if you were sick, I'd help you because I care about humanity. But I can't tell a man that his behind is a vagina. I can't tell a woman that being with the woman is the same as being with the man. You might like it, but you don't procreate. The first command in the scriptures is be fruitful and multiply. At least, whether we have children or not, we should be on the path of procreation, and that's what I believe as a Christian, what the Bible teaches is to procreate. Anybody that's trying to push Black people towards reproducing is seen as an enemy of the racist globalists who don't want Black people to exist. Kevin Samuels was messing with a plan. Anybody, look, I did a program within the last 2 weeks where I said, don't get mad, get an abortion. And that was just a play on don't get mad, get even. And this is in relationship to women, Black women all over this country killing frightening numbers of children. Because I mentioned abortion, you can go to my YouTube channel, Angry Black Men's Book Club, and look at it. They have an abortion explanation under my video. I didn't even talk about abortion. Just using the word abortion with Black people, they react to it because they want us killing children. When we had the COVID shutdown, the abortion clinics, 80% or more in Black communities, stayed open. When everything else was closed, the abortion clinics were open. What does that tell you? You can't get food, can't go out and buy water, but you can kill a baby. And EJ brings this up. Kevin Samuels asked Malcolm X, if you ever heard Malcolm X, any true nationalist, and Malcolm was a nationalists criticize the poor conduct of their people, not because they hate them, but because they think they can be better. A lot of people say to me, you sound like a Black conservative. That's because our people have been so destroyed, you wouldn't know what a Black nationalist was if you saw one. Nationalism and conservatism have some things in common. Nationalism is always going to want to have people to have good health, good character, strong family, because the family is the foundation of a nation. Kevin Samuels trying to bring black men and black women together in an age where they've been trying to tear it apart, in fact, makes him revolutionary. It makes him a nationalist. Maybe not a radical nationalist, but definitely a cultural nationalist in the sense that the black family must exist. And he was a businessman. Real nationalists criticize, real nationalists complain. Real nationalists don't like their people on drugs or alcohol. They don't like their people getting sex reassignment surgery. They will always oppose it. We will never go along with the cultural degradation or the cultural imperialism, the invasion of our morals by people who hate our guts. And in the case of Kevin Samuels, everyone needs to remember he started off by criticizing the conduct of how black men carried themselves. Women were an afterthought. I can personally say I started off criticizing what I saw in my brothers. But when I realized that nobody talked about the stuff jacked up about women, then I had to add them too. You got to talk about everybody. Everybody has to be held accountable in order for us to move forward. Everybody makes a contribution to us having ourselves together. And if you look at Malcolm X, when he says, you've been bamboozled, you've been this, you've been that. I mean, how'd you get as dumb as you are? That's not flattering. He's saying we're stupid. But he doesn't say you're stupid because he hates you.
And we got to understand, one thing people got to understand, and I notice this a lot when we talk about Malcolm. Malcolm X was not liked by the masses back then. He was a pariah, and then it got worse when he left the nation. So he may be our hero. He may be someone we look at as a true revolutionary. But let's be honest. Malcolm X was considered a troublemaker by black people.
Malcolm X wasn't popular, and Dr. King wasn't that popular.
And then the nation called him Benedict Arnold after he left.
But the guy, I'm telling you, Majid, that drew the things with his head being cut off, is the father of one of the people that I used to be friends to. And to show you how small this world is.
The popularity of Malcolm rose
with Spike Lee. With Spike Lee did the movie. It's exactly. It became popular to like Malcolm X. It wasn't always the case.
You got politicians that will use Malcolm's speeches knowing Malcolm didn't care about either party. You know how stupid that is? Malcolm didn't.
But it works. People will do what they have to. And understand that there was a Boule within the nation. And there was a Boule that wanted Kevin Samuels dead. And let's take a moment because I see Chef C is here. And I want to say hi to him. And I want to encourage everyone. And for station identification, I'm Dr. Randy Short. And I'm with Brother Q here. And Brother Q, you can come back in. You need to come back in because you can now be on my stream. Now the camera's up. I'm with the Angry Black Men's Book Club, with Salt Ministry, and I'm also the Field Marshal of the Coon Busters, as well as the apostle of the First Kevin Samuels Church of Deliverance. And I am a leader of the Black Patriarch movement. And I'm patriarchal as F. That's PATH. We are here to reclaim our communities. And we're here in particular to make certain that feminism is crushed and twice buried in the Black community. There should be no place for feminism in the Black American community. We despise feminism because it exists. And someone made a comment, which is true. Mr. Muck Muck, the general, he's saying since Spike Lee's movie, Malcolm X's image has been destroyed almost beyond recognition. True, to the point where they now call him a civil rights icon. This is why he brought up Mark Lamont Hill, sir, is that they were trying to make Malcolm X gay some way. They could just make Malcolm X gay.
Or then it'll be normal.
Yeah, then they would then use Malcolm X to make Malcolm X a strong gay black male leader. And they've also tried to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And someone's talking about, I just ruined my fresh diaper. Can you change? You know what? As an adult, you shouldn't be wearing one. But with so many people out there, a stock tip, if you want to get rich buying Pampers with all the people that are deviant, there's going to be a whole lot of people buying Pampers. So my stock tip, buy Pampers, because there are a lot of deviant people out there that need them. Okay. That's okay if you come on, if they come on my platform stupid, if you come on here stupid, I'm stupid too.
One thing I want people to remember when we're having this conversation is, regardless of what you may feel about Kevin Samuels or Malcolm, just think about why Malcolm left the nation. The indiscretions behind Stu's expression, pussy. He left. Whether we want to agree with it or not, whether anybody want to say he was wrong, whether anybody will say he was right, you got people nowadays saying, oh, he tried to go back into the nation. I don't believe none of that.
Okay. And I want to address my United Kingdom brother here. He said our solution to our problems is PPP, patriarchy, Pan-Africanism, and powernomics. Love and respect from UK brother. Now, let me say this to our UK brother, because I don't want to be mean and I don't want to not cooperate. We will buy two of the P's, patriarchy and powernomics. We put an R in front of our Pan-Africanism. Our Pan-Africanism is reciprocal Pan-Africanism, something for something. Pan-Africanism without reciprocity is a fraud. And I will say, just as sure as Sister Star, who might be on my feed, sent me some money for my birthday, and I took that money and sent it to a young brother who is a tailor, whose sewing machine, the only way he could generate money, was broken, and we paid to get it repaired. I have given money to people in various countries in Africa, and I'm the poorest person in the world. But I will say this to you. Pan-Africanism is bankrupt without reciprocity. And a lot of people, Malcolm and others, that's one of the things that needs to be revised in the philosophy, is having a reciprocal Pan-Africanism that is relevant to people. Because I see a lot of people, and I'm not picking on you, brother, in the UK, but they come from Africa or the Caribbean to America, and they are what I would call predatory Pan-Africanists. They come to rip off. They actually act as enemies against us in our own country. We open the doors for them, and they slam them on us in our own country. And as a result, a lot of what Malcolm X tried to do, and other people have wanted to work with people around the world that were Black, that's basically in ashes. It's a conversation I have with a very good friend of mine who I will be doing broadcasting with in England, that Malcolm X and others did not put enough emphasis on, actually, Malcolm was into reciprocity. But Malcolm was saying that we would put pressure on America to treat Africa better, and Africans could put pressure on America internationally for us to be treated better. Malcolm X practiced a true Pan-Africanism. most people have a fraud Pan-Africanism. Basically, there's a lot of jealousy, pettiness, and hatred against Black Americans. It's assumed we have life so easy and everything is just perfect, and we should just hand over all of our mountains of gold that we've had these last 400 years to other people who suffered more. And because we're in America, we are responsible for America's crimes abroad. So when people take something from us or do something to us, we deserve it because of the crimes of white Americans. And at the same time, these people from wherever they are in the world, Black, come here and align themselves with whites against us while asking us to give reparations to them for what whites did to them. Nobody here wants that kind of Pan-Africanism. I'm the first person to say to hell with that. If it's collegiality, reciprocity, and cooperation on terms, like, I'm not trying to be petty, but I just saw Family Man, and there was another gentleman from Gary, Indiana, who was in the Wailers band, a Black American that played bass for Bob Marley. Just because Bob Marley had a Black American bass player, no Black American would claim that reggae came from the United States. Never. Even though Bob Marley's Wailers and all patterned themselves from Black American rhythm and blues, and he even had Black American sidemen. Even had people like what's his name? I'm forgetting his name. The one that sings "I Can See Clearly Now the Rain Is Gone." Johnny something. It'll come to me. It's not Johnny Taylor. God, this is awful when these names come up. But anyway, the song is "I Can See Clearly." Johnny Nash. Johnny Nash. And even though Johnny Nash and these other people went down and helped the Wailers record, even though Johnny Nash had the first big international reggae record, he never said that he created reggae. I remember seeing him on TV, him saying there's this great music that these people in Jamaica have. These people in Jamaica have this great music. Everybody should hear it. Everybody should understand this great thing that these Jamaicans have. Turn that to now, and you've got people from Jamaica in particular claiming that they made hip hop to the point where they want to fight people. And the reason that they made hip hop is because some people had turntables down in the parties in Kingston. And we would never do that to another group of people. But Blacks in the diaspora do it to us all the time. And as a result, a lot of us are very angry. And so if you talk to other people in the Caribbean or that are in Great Britain, get them to understand it is a crime. I'm not speaking to you, brother, but it is a crime that English-speaking Black people don't get along better, don't have a better dialogue, don't work together. And it is a choice, in particular those from the British Caribbean, when they come here or they go anywhere. Okay, the Yardies do crime in England. The police carry guns in England because of the way people carry themselves. The police are now more guns in Canada. A lot of people in the diaspora don't show love or respect for each other when they travel. They act as conquering invaders. And the Black American community, in particular, what's been going on the last 4 years here, Pan-Africanism is a dirty word. And someone's going to have to speak to other people in those communities and say, hey, we're about to be in a situation where the world's going to get a lot meaner with what's going on with the fights. We shouldn't be estranged from each other over which island or which flag you wave if it's possible. I appreciate you, and you're welcome to call or email me and we dialogue, but there's a big bigotry problem against Black Americans from people from other places. And 5 years ago, nobody noticed. There has been a major awakening in the last 4 or 5 years to this. And the sad thing is the people that are very decent, from the diaspora stand to be treated like the folks who've offended us. And if you and I conversate offline, I could give you 40 some odd years of really harsh things that I've personally experienced in this whole Pan-African thing. And the average person by now would have said, screw all these other people. And I'm a patient person, but a lot of other people are at that, to hell with people anywhere else. And that shows how black on black, or should I say foreign black on American black tribalism has destroyed something. And not that there are no people all have to get along, but it's been particularly terrible.
I'm getting an echo from your mic, Dr. Short.
That's okay. Now, I didn't see the Bob Marley movie. I must say to you, reggae is okay. I'm more a Motown person or a gospel person. When we had parties, with the exception of Steel Pulse, I can't think of any reggae song that we would play at a party, because you can't, not the way we dance, couldn't dance to it. The rhythm is different from how we do that. So I can't say I listen to a lot of it, but I used to listen to some. I believe that Bob Marley was assassinated. I believe that Bob Marley was a threat. We know that Seaga was not even born in Jamaica. He's the equivalent of Obama for the Jamaicans. And the United States, its imperialism destroyed the fair value that Jamaicans and people in Guyana should get for their bauxite, from which we get aluminum. And they did the same thing to Chile. The CIA and the other people have destroyed Jamaica. They've destroyed Guyana. They've destroyed a lot of countries. This is what the Rockefellers and other very wealthy billionaire plutocratic families have done. And so Marley was someone that they couldn't completely control. They got rid of. A lot of artists have been killed and destroyed. A lot of people get killed all the time. But let's get back to our topic. And by the way, I need to say this. Please retweet, share, retweet this while we're doing it. Subscribe if you haven't. Talk up our platform by word of mouth. And support this. I watch other people's chats, and the people are sending them thousands of dollars. I'm not even thinking. And we're on here, and folks don't send one. I can be here 8 hours. And I mean, if they went to a strip club, they would be broke if they sat there 8 hours, because they would have thrown all their money out. But when you're talking some real stuff, you don't get anything. It says something about what we value. And that's okay. I got Chef C on the job. One of these days, guys, y'all think I'm joking. It will come a day soon where there'll just be samples online. Part of it is because some people, you make it rain on them, and they're not even talking nothing. And people that do bring something, folks feel comfortable to simply, basically steal their thoughts, and walk away from it. It's intellectual theft. It's thieving if you always get something and don't think to give anything in return. By the way, people who hate Black people's guts know that about us. We've got some pretty gross, in-your-face ways that we've never worked on, that everybody knows, and we don't deal with it. They also know the same way Malcolm X couldn't have been killed if Black people valued him. Kevin Samuels couldn't have been killed if Black people valued him. Dr. King couldn't be killed. These people get killed because, in reality, at the core of what I said in our last conversation with Sister Eve, we don't give a damn. Black life doesn't matter to us. Black leadership doesn't matter to us. Black character, black integrity, black intellect, everything good about us, we see that stuff is for free. Maybe that's why we have so many STDs. Sex, which is spiritual and for family and for procreation, we see this it's cheap and for free. And then we all are embittered and used up and contaminated because God gives us something and we mess over it like it's a rugby football. And then when it doesn't work out, or when you got a brood of bastards, you don't know who the father is or so forth, then we're all bitter. So the way that people treat one another says a lot about how they feel about the group. So if you gain something from Let's Talk to on their next Angry Black Men's Book Club, and you listen to it for hours, and yet Spotify or Napster, as it used to be, or Apple TV, or what, pay their behinds, and yet have a difficult time putting like $1 or $2 in a Patreon for someone, that is amazing. I'm not whining, I'm just saying, we're the only people that expect to get free, divesting in anything that would help free us. That's what's it? As Winston Churchill, the racist, said, it was a riddle wrapped up in an enigma. Okay, let's go back to our conversation. But y'all should like this, share this. Somebody should say, I'm going to send a piece to short because I think this is good. I think it's worthwhile. Okay, I can't do this, but you know what? I'm going to retweet this. I'm going to go and subscribe. And I'm going to show this in particular. I know a bunch of really nasty, raunchy, ratchet feminists. And I finally found a way to piss them off. Send them Dr. Short Pat Talk videos where the men talk bad about feminists. Somebody could do that. In fact, who wants to sponsor? I had on the last conversation a brother sponsored. He sent a few bills. It was cool. Who wants to sponsor this? If you could sponsor, because you know what, freedom's not free. Information isn't free, although people think it is. And I'll tell you something. We English-speaking Black American people, we're spoiled. The information that we take for granted, that we could care less about, and all over Africa, where there are 2.2 or 2.3 billion people in Africa, don't let them tell you it's less. If you don't speak some of them Western languages, or even if you do, the books, the material, things that you get access to, it's unheard of. I will never forget being in Ghana at the University of Ghana and going into their history reading room, which was locked, kept under lock and key to keep the students from stealing the books. There wasn't one book in the history department and the private library of the history department and the University of Ghana in Accra. Not one book on Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Black Americans, the slave trade. So when you meet people from Africa and they don't know one damn thing about you, it's because the information doesn't circulate. We've never made an investment in telling our story. We don't make investments in Dr. Hendrik Clark. John Hendrik Clark dies broke. All these people die broke. Everybody talks about, man, I read his book, he's so deep. And you never think to send him a piece. We have a tremendous amount, a preponderance of information that could be used in our favor that we elect to either ignore or treat it like it's, like it's a suppository, and wonder why we're where we are. Again, somebody should sponsor. In fact, people should make that a habit. We should have a friends of the Angry Black Men's Book Club or friends of the New Black Media Matrix, New United Black Media Matrix, should have a support group, because Chef C and Brother Lone Wolf, how you doing? Explaining all this stuff about self-defense, firearms, so forth. There should be people supporting what we do. By the way, that Mark was making a point, and I'll say this. My focus will always be on home, although I believe work with, as Malcolm X says, I work with anyone that's serious about fighting for liberation, but it starts at home. But there's somebody, it won't kill them, to donate, to support, whether it's Brother Q, whether it's Brother Lone Wolf, whether it is Chef C, and pretty soon Sister Eve, who's too timid to ask for anything. And she's been doing these spaces for years, thousands and thousands of people. And you know what? We got to do this. So I want to put that out there. If you don't think, in fact, the white supremacists and the people that hate our guts love the fact that we don't support each other. It's the best thing. Those of you sitting out that don't ever give or support or get behind anything, they love you. If they knew you're going to sit and listen the rest of your lives and not do anything, not help anyone, not get behind anything, they'll do this. Okay, now this brother here, he's sending me this message, and I'm going to read it. I agree, Dr. Short. I'm not offended. I'm talking about reciprocal Pan-Africanism. God bless you. I'm glad. I'm of Nigerian descent, and as far as I'm concerned, we owe you free land and citizenship. We owe you that. Oh, thank you. Well, as a person who is a significant amount of Nigerian DNA, I accept. And I'm glad you're not offended. We're not trying to offend. You would be amazed, sir, how often people start yelling and screaming when all we do is mention what our reality is. And we're not even talking about free land or citizenship. I know what it's like for Caribbeans to attack me for identifying with them. I should give you guys a Pan-African story, a real one. Can I give them a Pan-African story, Q? Okay. I would say just about 40 years ago, when I was an undergraduate at Howard University, I would always get criticized, and I would always hear negative complaints about Black Americans from Caribbean Americans, about how we didn't know anything about them, how we were stupid. I said, you know what, you're right. But they never really talked about the Caribbean other than sugar, bananas, tourism. Not that I wouldn't be interested. I knew a little bit, but it never came up. But you know what? I'm going to do better. I'm going to study and learn about the Caribbean so I understand better what's going on. Do you know, I registered to take a class at Howard University's History Department taught by Dr. Arthur Burt, who was alleged to be a cocaine addict. That's another conversation. And do you know the Caribbean students protested and wanted the professor to kick me out of the class because they didn't want Black Americans to take their class? They made it known I wasn't welcome to be in the class because I was a Black American at Howard University in Washington, D.C., in the United States. They complained about me being in the class. They would not speak to me. That entire semester, not one person from the Caribbean would even speak to me in the class. Having desegregated schools as a Black person with whites that didn't like you, had never had a situation where white people, every single solitary white person, was as nasty as all the Caribbean students were. By the way, I outscored the Caribbeans in their history class, and I got an A. Most of them did not, but they were angry. And whenever I would ask a question, they'd get angry and laugh whenever you'd speak. And It's like, my God, you're trying too hard to hate me. Why are you in the United States if you hate American black? Actually, they call us Yankee. If you hate Yankees so much, why'd you come? Why didn't you stay in your country? I get it, and whenever they would complain about American imperialism, they would blame black Americans personally. But when they were around white people, they would literally suck the feces out of their rectums and their behavior. I was thinking, this is strange. Why is this? And that's 40 years ago. And I'm not bitter, just thinking, what if black Americans got nasty like that in our country? What if we did that? What if we started acting all like we just can't work with and don't like anybody if you're not from here or there? Uh, that's an incredible, yeah, just nastiness, just nasty. And I've many of these experiences with people. I don't know what they're trying to prove, but in that 40 years, black Americans have gotten mad. So I don't know. Uh, I see unless people come in that are peacemakers and talk to the other communities, the people here, especially what's happening in Chicago, here in Washington, um, there's not going to be a chance for people to work together. If for the younger people that are not patient like me, I'm 59, they're not going to want to deal with. They would never take any of what I dealt with. None. Uh, is that a good Pan Africanism story? Does that sound crazy? I'm in America being told get out, and this, and it's like what? And I've had many of those experiences. British Caribbean, God help us, Lord. What if we started saying everybody? Oh my God. Juan Johnson sponsored. Thank you, Juan Johnson. Somebody isn't on Snap. I miss Snap. Shoot, somebody on Snap has some spare money. I thank you, Juan Johnson, for making a contribution. Um, okay, brother, we got a few more minutes because I got to do Bible study.
Yeah.
When I'm yeah. So yeah, and I would just say this to people: the difference between Malcolm X and Kevin Samuels that a lot of people don't think about. Kevin Samuels was Christian. Malcolm X became an Orthodox Muslim. But what a lot of people don't know, and this is what's kind of interesting, towards the end of Malcolm X's life, Malcolm X found he had a harder time relying on a lot of the Muslims that he knew, and found Christians easier to work with, which is why he organized uh, the OAAU, a group in which he could work with people in other religious groups, because there are a lot of people that wanted to support Malcolm, but because he was a Muslim and had to do all of that, that was basically, it pushed Black Christians, the majority, at least at that time, away. Malcolm found that he got more mileage out of opening his stuff up to Christians than what he was getting trying to work with Blacks who are Muslims. That's the little dirty secret, because there's this idea, and I think it needs to go the way of the buffalo. Being a Muslim doesn't make you radical or revolutionary or pro-Black. It makes you whatever kind of Muslim you want to be. Okay, that's what I have to say. Now it's your turn, brother. I'm gonna be quiet.
We hope that sometimes we could be able to think outside the box and look at, like Dr. Short explained, that these two men were pro-family, and this is what we're about, and we're going to always encourage and get people to understand that the brotherfucker mentality, the feminist movement, anytime you attack it, you're going to be considered an outlier.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why definitely Kevin Samuels was considered an outlier. And for those of us that are living today, we see how Malcolm is today's hero. Just remember that he was considered Benedict Arnold by the people, the very same people that
he built up the Nation of Islam. Malcolm was the catalyst for the nation being built. When Elijah Muhammad had him come in, the Nation of Islam may have had a few hundred members, if that. Okay, let's say they had 1,000, just to be generous. And I'm being more than generous, you know that. I think they may have had 80 people when Malcolm came in. By 1960, the Nation of Islam had over 250,000 people. If you think that Malcolm came in 1954, 55? So in 5 years, you go from less than 1,000 to 250,000. That's major growth. That's major growth. Jesus, the Christian faith didn't grow that fast. And I'm a Christian. I mean, that he made it blow. Malcolm blew it up, and 250,000 is gentle. The Nation of Islam exploded.
So we got to understand that he was not a hero to those people back then.
Yeah, because and the people, male and female, had no problem when they heard, okay, he came in 1952, fine. Because he came out, I know he went into jail in the 40s. He was there for about 7 years. So he went in 45 or 40, 44, whatever. Okay, came out in 50, came in 52. All right, still, the Nation of Islam exploded. It exploded.
And even so much today, you'll have people from the Nation of Islam, and I will say it. I will say phrases like this. These are prevalent phrases amongst them. There will be another Malcolm before it be another Elijah. Meaning, what they'll try to do is minimize what Malcolm has done for that movement. And I'm not saying that it will be another Elijah Muhammad, but I'm saying that Malcolm was considered to those people and whoever we want to say, FBI, CIA, there was a lot of people complicit in his death. So when you understand that when you are an outlier, when you're someone who is speaking against the norm, people are going to look at you different and treat you different. So these two men have a lot of similarities together, and sometimes we have to think outside the box and understand what the forces and what the arms and the troops of white supremacy truly is. Because a lot of people like to talk this white supremacy stuff. White supremacy is not coming at nobody straight in their face. It's coming at them through different avenues.
Through feminism, through baby killing, through a range of things. And yes, I have this question from someone. Could you explain the difference between African Americans and Black Americans? And I'll just be very succinct. The term African American, which I once used to use, I was reluctant to use it, not because I want to disassociate having African roots, which has never been a problem for me. My concern was that when you say African Americans, it basically means, and I even learned this at Howard, that a white South African would be an African American, which is what was happening at Howard. So they were getting white South Africans that were rich were getting scholarships as African students. And so it's very dangerous when people who hate you can use a definition to destroy you with it. And so African American is everybody, Algerians, Arab Africans, and meaning that everybody in Africa, including whites in Africa, can be an African American, which is why a lot of us are saying foundational Black American, or the term I have coined is descendants of Aboriginals and forcibly trafficked Africans in the Americas, which is deaf to, because even that term isn't fair, because Some of us are the descendants of people who have Moorish extraction and Afro-European extraction as well. My family's all three lineages. So a lot of people, this whole idea of who and what we are, whoever asked this question, the lie is that everybody came to America in a slave ship. That is not true. It's certainly not true for a lot of us. In fact, people in my family, some of them own slave ships, and they didn't come over on the slave ships that they own. So a Black American has a European heritage that could be from people who were brought to America um, as indentured servants, as slaves, and or freemen, persons who were kicked out of England by the change in the power system there. People who had a Black or African appearance or phenotypes, of brown or whatever. These people, um, that's this group. And then, of course, you had people from Africa. And then you had huge numbers of people who were already here. At one point in time, the entire planet was Black. Everyone was Black. Okay, the Chinese were originally Black. The Japanese were originally Black. And the original Americans were Black. I'm of that descent. So we're a combination of all three lineages, or sometimes just one. I always bring up the example of Johnny Mathis. I have never met any African, with the exception of maybe someone from Madagascar, that looks like Johnny Mathis with the hair and all that kind of stuff, because Johnny Mathis is a Comanche Indian with some Black and white ancestry. Okay, so we are a combination, and that's not to dismiss or throw Africans away, of which I love and have affinity for Africans. And but just in doing my own family history, trying to figure out who are we exactly. I always tell the story. I went to my grandfather and said, "Granddaddy, tell me about the slaves from Africa." My grandfather says, "I can't help you. I've never heard of any slaves from Africa. I could tell you about Indians. I could tell you about my father's people. I don't know about any Africans." I mean, he's much older than I am. So, and I've done his that family. There are no Africans in my grandfather's maternal. No recent Africans at all. Zero. But my grandfather, who at one point could pass as white, but was dark enough, and at a certain point, clearly not white. That's where we're not in a box. And it's racist when people try to define us as all coming from a slave ship, or they're people who say, well, no, there no Africans came to America. We've got these nuts out here who hate Africans, who say nobody came from Africa here, which isn't true either. And at the same time, the other lie is all of us are products of interracial raping. That isn't true either. I was brought up being told, um, I was brought up being taught that my family came as a result of a white man raping a Black woman. And it turns out it's a Black man that married a German woman. There was no rapes, none, in this particular line. So Black Americans are those people who have four heritages that have been combined into one, a composite of maybe 1,000 African lingual and sublingual groups, hundreds of Aboriginal American groups, several European groups, Welsh, Irish, Scottish, English, and some of the other European countries, Danish, whatever. They're that blend. And of course, whatever else happened in between. Some of us have some Philippines. Some of us have Mesoamerican. I have that too, people from South America. And so that's what makes a Black American. An African American could be um, anybody that comes to America. Yeah, Elon Musk is an African American. Anybody, white Africans who kill, white South Africans that kill Black South Africans, Rhodesian whites can be African Americans. We need to differentiate ourselves from them. And at the same time, when we fought for something in this country, when we put a category that includes everybody in the world, that could be connected with the African continent, we cheat ourselves. No, people say, hey, look, we fought for these rights. Let's give it to everybody. That's insane. So African Americans are a group of people that have come into being after 400 or 500 years of endogamous blending. That's my answer. I'm going to have to stop in a second because I have Bible study and Jesus calls me. In fact, I can't wait. If you guys like this, you know that we're going to have a good time. I don't know when we're going to do it. Hold on 1 second. We're going to have a wonderful conversation about white Jesus. We're going to bring him back. Because black folks don't like a black Jesus. Anyway, okay. Did you fall asleep at the wheel?
We're done. No, we off.
Okay, well, you're off. I'm still talking. So, everybody, I'm going to stop here. And we're going to pick this back up. We've got to talk about Kevin Samuel some more. We're going to talk about Malcolm X some more. We're going to talk about Dr. King. And I might just break out and do some things, but I want to thank everybody for helping and supporting. Thank you for getting this channel over 70,000 views in 2 months. I'm looking forward to that. Brother Shay, all of you, everybody, please, 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 please come back, share. Let's learn. Let's love. God bless everybody. And I'm going to stop here. Bye-bye.
Give me a call later.
Okay. Bye. Good night, Quiet Scales. We're about to cut this off. I got to check out here, guys.